In an effort to sort of test OBS, I'm going to go off on a little impromptu ramble here about RPG design. Specifically, I just took another look at YIIK's 1.5 update, and what it sort of looks like they changed in the battle system. YIIK ended up disappointing as an RPG, though it was always trying to be one of those RPGs that are using the RPG as a medium for delivering story, not so much one of the ones where the appeal is experimenting with the interactive systems themselves. It's sort of like the difference between Final Fantasy VII and Legend of Grimrock. The original battle system that YIIK had was very, very slow, and despite having mini-games that they were trying to spice up combat with, the issue was none of them actually sped up battles. You would spend turn after turn wailing on a foe, doing relatively little damage, and it didn't seem to matter if you did good at the minigame or not. It was boring, it was repetitive. The designers of YIIK made the same mistake that a lot of people do when doing turn-based battles, thinking that having a turn-based system is enough. That leads to long and repetitive battles. People sometimes think that an action-based battle system is better than a turn-based one, because then at least the senseless button mashing is quicker. But it's not. See, the reason why action is not better or worse than turn-based is because they are just different genres. The point of a turn-based battle system is that the whole battle system needs to be tuned to mean a single turn can decide victory or defeat. That's why you're given time to consider all of your options, with the understanding that each turn has importance. If your RPG fails to make turns valuable, then the turn-based battle system will be boring because functionally all you've done is taking a button-mashing system take longer. So YIIK 1.5 changes this. First, it has a sort of timer system that shows you turn order, but seems to give you plenty of time to pick commands. This is pretty great, as it gives you the chance as a designer to make attacks differ in terms of how long an attack sets you back on the wait time. You can have attacks that do big damage at the risk of a longer wait time for that character's next turn. It also adds some system that it's calling Carta. From the gameplay demo, these eat damage that doesn't have the piercing attribute, and they also act as once per battle skills. So if you don't use a Carta, it has a passive effect that is active, but will break if your character takes a hit, acting to essentially defend you. The more standard-seeming skills use a resource built up by hitting weaknesses and breaking your enemy's Carta, and hitting resources is a pooled resource for the entire party. This functionally makes them more like FF7's overdrives, and there's a good chance, I think, provided the power of them is tuned correctly. Like, Carta should be weaker since they refresh every battle, but PowerPoint skills should be worth the multiple battles it would take to accumulate the points needed to use them. On top of all that, there's this really nice resource system that's part per battle and part per dungeon, which is another topic entirely. It also has a bleeding system. Once you take a hit with all of your Carta gone, because they're expended when you take a hit, you start bleeding. The next enemy attack that hits you makes you bleed, and you lose health every single turn that any actor takes an action in battle. Meaning that enemies can bleed out without you even continuing to fight them. Again, as a designer, it opens up opportunity for enemies with a last breath type abilities. It opens up the design space for enemies that are dangerous when they're on very low health, enemies that are powerful when they're on very high health, enemies that can be demoralized, that sort of thing. I don't know if the game has any kind of row system, but if it does, it would allow for ranged abilities to be very valuable. It would allow for abilities that hit multiple targets to be absolutely invaluable. All because, essentially, the system has this built-in damage over time mechanic in it once you've broken through an enemy's Carta. There doesn't seem to be a system where you regenerate Carta at all, but again, I'm going off of the one video of gameplay that they've uploaded to their own channel like 8 months ago. There doesn't seem to be any penalties for dying in battle and then winning the battle, because in, again, one of the battles they show, Alex dies and comes back afterwards at full health. And so that might just be a debug option, because again, this is the gameplay demo. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting that they're kind of fixing the main problems I had with the game as an RPG, in that the RPG system seems to actually have gotten a fraction of the consideration that the story did at this point, finally.